Here's just a quick demo of some font stuff I've been doing on the TeensySaber. So the display just cycles through the preset, the battery glyph, and then a battery like percentage. It's just spelling out battery and the Star Wars characters, and then I can do things with the console. I can change the display and stop it cycling, and just leave it on the battery glyph. That'll just stay there now. I can change the glyph. Little Graflex saber. Different symbols from the different font libraries. And then I can cycle through to the next screen and leave it on that one. And I can change the fonts here too. I've written some of my own commands like font bat 0. That's the standard Jedi font. Font bat 3. It's a smaller font. Font bat 7. One of the other fonts, just that'll correct. There it goes. Font bat 1. Back to the Star Wars font. That'll correct. I haven't got that auto correcting yet, but it will correct. There it goes. We can go on to the presets. So we'll just display the presets. That'll just time out. Next time around, it'll go to the presets. There we go. We can change the font there. So that's the basic messaging font. That's one I've converted with the font convert program. But we just type font 0. There we go. Standard font. Font 1. Font 2. Font 3. The smaller fonts are good for a 64 by 32 pixel display. They all fit without any real modifications to the text that you might have in the config file for the, font, for the sound font. And then the last one. Then we can go back to display. It'll continue to cycle through. Every few seconds it just moves through the display. You can still do a message on the screen, so if I do a message like that, it'll just drop back into the battery glyph and then cycle through again. And then I did some themes, like I've got a, I think theme Jedi, do the Jedi glyph, it'll be just the standard Jedi font. And then I did a theme for the Star Wars font. Same battery glyph, but now it obviously changes everything to the font. Moving through the presets. So if you can't read that, you just change the font to something we can read, like that. And now if you move through the presets now, we'll let them know there. It's the battery level. Yeah, it looks quite good. And then if you're using a 64 width display, then you have an option. You just recompile it with that option, and it'll drop back into that size. So if I do that here in the code, I've got a number of different startup sort of splash screens as well that you can sort of set up. But if you go to the 64, it'll force some fonts, and you configure them in the config file. So I've configured like an English font, then the Star Wars character font for the battery display. So that's reprogramming now. It'll boot up. So you've got to ignore now, it's just a 64 width, ignore the two symbols on the right. Display's not being written to there anymore, so it's just 64, so it's about the full width of this display that you just saw then. And that's why I've got this small battery glyph, so you get more definition for the small display. But you can obviously change the font for the battery to something smaller. Font that. Small display. Is it there? And then moving through the fonts. So you just imagine the very small display being used. Turn the saber on. So the battery drops down a bit. Percentage being displayed. Saber off, battery will come back up. Yeah, so a little bit of work for the screen. I'm going to mount one of these in a Martin Bayer chassis, just a 3D printed one. Then cut the top of the case or the top cover and put the little display in. See how it all looks. Okay, that's it.